Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Welcome back to our coffee Q&A. It is Thursday, September 14th, and so I was at, as you can see, I'm wearing my shirt here. I was at the Duran Duran concert last night. I know maybe some of you guys don't like Duran Duran, or maybe some of you are too young for Duran Duran, but that's all right because, But like we've been doing this week, we've been testing out the coffee that's been freshly roasted, straight out of the roaster, and we've been tasting it over the successive days. So we roasted the coffee on Monday, tasted it Monday, and then we've been tasting it for the last couple of days. And now we're on day 3, 72 hours after roast, and we're going to see what kind of occlusion happens of the flavors because of CO2 emissions from the coffee beans, right? So that's where we are. We've been doing that this week. We'll be doing that all week, tasting the coffees, seeing the progression, and then we'll culminate that on Monday because that'll give us 7 days post-roast, and we'll see how on Monday, how does it taste? All right, so let's get to it. We won't take too long. We've got our coffee here, roasted on the 11th. Let's have a look at that. So the roasting is still, the beans look good. They're still relatively clean, dry. Oops, there we are. So how y'all doing this week or today? Everything's good? Weather today here in Baltimore is really pretty, cool, and really nice. So let's get to it. We're going to take our coffee. We're going to measure it out. Have a look at this. We're going to do 24 grams because we're going to make a 12-ounce cup. Nice. All right, let's get that to grinding. We have not changed the grind since yesterday or the entire time. The grind was a little bit different because on Monday I did use a different grinder. And so how has the coffee been performing this entire week? It has been performing. It's been interesting, right? We're definitely on Monday when we first did the coffee, we got some nice notes of cinnamon. It was very clean. We had notes of tobacco, leather, maybe a little bit of nutmeg, cacao, but we did not. And then on Tuesday, we had a lot of occlusion, right? We experienced a bit of occlusion. I described the coffee as being grotesque. The flavors of the coffee being grotesque as compared to Monday, and it was every day I've been trying to struggle with what was the word that I used, grotesque and mangled. It was mangled. The flavors were mangled. It was a little bit better. Oh, what am I doing? I'm totally folding this the wrong way. Fold it this way. Mom, how are you? Good morning. Good to see you. How's things in New York? All right, there we go. All right, there's our coffee. Nicely ground and roasted. Beautiful, beautiful. But what was I saying? So yesterday it was better. It had better clarity, a little bit better. It was better than Tuesday, but not great. I thought it was still kind of. Oh, we also had a problem with the roasting on Wednesday. It was a little bit slow, probably. So a little bit more over extraction, a little bit bitterness came out of it, a little bit tannic on the finish. So, it wasn't so far the 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday have not been as good as the original brew on Monday. So hopefully we'll get something better, but we're going to see how it develops. That's part of the process. All right, so let's get to brewing. We've got our coffee here. Let's put some in our pouring kettle. So I'm trying to keep everything relatively consistent throughout the process. Put a starter timer. Oops. This is what happens sometimes. Sometimes when you're in the professional world, you forget to reset your temperature or your scales. All right, let's start. So I'm trying to do a really light pour just to saturate the grinds. We usually get the water falling. Oh yeah, they're about 25 grams. We're going to see this. There's a little bit of movement. If we look closely here, the bloom is starting to feature up. Now, yesterday, one of the problems that I was doing was I was pouring a little bit slow, right? So we ended up at 4 minutes, 30 seconds with our brewing. So we don't want to do that today. We want to get going maybe a little bit heavier today. We're going to raise the water head. We've already passed 45 seconds, so plenty of time for the bloom to happen. I'm just trying to beat down the floating coffee. Now I've raised it up to here. I'm going to try to hold it there at this water point, this water level. Now, as you know, as I pour it, I don't really like some people talk not pouring on the sides. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's important to get saturation of the coffee so that we're always getting extraction from the coffee. $205 and a minute, coming up a minute 30. Add a little bit more water to the kettle. You know, in my case, we're using this big 7-liter kettle to boil the coffee. We actually boil it at the Cafe du Spro by hand rather than in mechanical machines. We're 250 at 2 minutes. So we should be at a good pace. We should be at a good pace. Now, like I said, again, it's just about keeping the water level or keeping the water level. Or keeping the water at the level. 300, 226. We might be going a little bit on the faster side now. 322, 2 minutes, 40 seconds. All right, let's not go too crazy. We're going a little bit on the faster side, I think, today. All right, we're at 350, 351. We're at 305 time-wise, so we should be in good time. We want to finish up the brew somewhere between 3.5 to 4 minutes. Looks like we should be just about there. 320, 325. Yeah, we're starting to get the drippiness. Huh? Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. Yeah, there we go. Good. 340. Rinse out that filter. Very good. All right, there it is. We've got our coffee. A good brew. Just about 12 ounces. So nice. All right, let's pour that in. Oops. There's our coffee. Looking a little bit on the lighter side today. A lot of that really has to do with the vessel. Like I'm using this Riedel glass. You know, the nice about this Riedel glass is that it's a thin walled glass, right? Now this is actually designed to be a water glass by Riedel, but you know, I actually end up using it for pretty much everything. There was a time that I was using Riedel also makes a tasting wine glass. So it's kind of a universal shape for tasting wines neutrally, I believe. And I bought a few of those many years ago. And those are kind of fun to use for coffee. However, the thing to be careful is that, the wine glasses are slightly tapered, right? Because it's designed so that it'll help concentrate the volatile aromatics for your nose, which is great. However, when you're doing that with hot coffee that's hot enough to emit steam, and you take from a concentrated fluting, that definitely wakes you up in the morning. All right, so let's have a nose on this. Oh, again, still with the earthiness, that diatomaceous earth, which to me is always very like warm, comforting, and attractive. Like I always, anytime I have this aroma, I just like it. I like it. Little light hints of cedar, maybe light hints of cinnamon. There's that bitterness we had of yesterday, plus a little bit of a character that I would describe as a butter. There's now a little bit of pungency on the finish. So it's tannic on the front end, this kind of buttery sensation, and then a bit tannic. Now, here's the interesting thing. Like, for the most part, we just wait, right? When we get the coffees and we roast them, we just wait. We don't really even, after so many years of doctrination, accepting the fact that, there's this, CO2 production that reduces the flavors of coffee. We just accept that and kind of like wait for 7 days or whatever it is after roast before drinking our coffee without actually drinking it during the period. So definitely an improvement from Tuesday and an improvement over yesterday. Like that tannic character that we had yesterday, much more reduced. It's still there, but much more reduced. So here's our coffee. I mean, it's clean. It's a clean flavor. It's actually kind of nice in some respects, but we're not getting a lot of definition. Like before, we had cacao, some leather. What else did we have? We had leather, tobacco. This is more just kind of like there is a brightness. It is lighter. This coffee is actually performing brighter this week overall than I normally think it does. But I mean, it is I guess for the coffee, it can be considered kind of a lighter roast. All right, let's see. Like this is the roast here, which I guess is kind of light. I mean, let me look at this with a different lighting source. Yeah, that's a fairly light roast. I just had to turn on the overhead lights. Like right now, we've got things are a little bit more on the incandescent side, like a warmer, 32 to 3500 Kelvin kind of temperature range. So, we're getting a lot more yellower, golden tones on the coffee for camera. This is all designed for camera, but to look at it with a little bit more harsh light gives us a little more feeling of the roast profile. All right. What do we think about this? I mean, I'm liking it. I'm certainly liking it better than I had yesterday, or definitely better than it was on Tuesday. Yeah, all right. So last night I went down to DC to see the Duran Duran concert. If you're not familiar, Duran Duran is this band from the 80s, and they're from the United Kingdom. My favorite band from when I was young, like when I was, in high school, that was my favorite band. Like, we had a great time with them. And it's my third or fourth time watching them in concert. I haven't seen them since 2011. They were playing at in DC, also at Constitution Hall. This time they were playing at the Capital One Arena. And you know what? I was really kind of like hesitant to go. Like a few months ago, my cousin called me and he's like, "Hey man, we're gonna go to Duran Duran. Why don't you come with us?" And I was like, "No, not gonna do that. I'm not gonna pay that kind of money. And what am I gonna do? Go to a concert and be surrounded by old people?" Like, no, I'm not doing that. And then about a month ago, my cousin called me again. He's like, "Hey, one of our friends, he doesn't want to go. So would you be interested?" And I was like, "You know what?" He got me at the right moment because I was just kind of like off the cuff. "Yeah, sure, man, I'll go. Why not?" The moment that I said that, I immediately regretted it. I was like, "Oh man, why did I say that? Now I have to commit to a day to go out all the way down to DC. It's a real pain in the butt." Like, for example, yesterday, my cousin, talked to him the day before, and I was like, "Hey man, so what's going on with our trip?" He's like, "Yeah, be at my house by 3." I was like, 3 o'clock? The concert doesn't start till 7. So if you're in normal days, DC from where we live, downtown DC, really only takes me about an hour, maybe hour 20 minutes to get to. And I was like, "Dude, what are we, old people eating? Like, had dinner at 5:30 or something?" So I met him at his house at 3. We went down to pick up his wife because she was coming from work, and she was down closer to DC, not quite in DC, but down that way. And then we went down to DC, and there's so much traffic the entire trip. There's so much traffic. Like, we actually didn't get to the arena till 6:30. And I was like, "Whoa, I can't believe it took us this long to get here." And then we went to eat, and because we didn't know who was opening, right? So it was like, okay, we're just gonna go. And because the girls were like, "Oh, yeah, someone Niles." I was like, or Nils, and I was like, "Nils, who's this?" Maybe some kind of Swedish act or something. So we went out to have Chinese food because the Capital One Arena is actually in Chinatown, DC. So we went to Tony Chang's, had a really great, surprisingly great meal there. And then we went to the concert. We got there around 7:30, so maybe closer to 8. And the band the opening act had just finished. So I was like, "Oh, I guess we missed this band or whatever." And I'm kind of curious. Now that we're there, I was kind of curious. And then I asked the guy, "How was the band?" They were like, "Oh, they were good. They were good." But I didn't. Then they had another band, and so this Niles turns out to be Nels Rodgers and Chic. And I was like, "What?" They started playing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, man! I can't believe it!" Like, and if you're not familiar, Nels Rodgers is this producer. He's like a musician, like a funk musician, soul. He has been producing music for 40 years, 50 years or whatever it is, and has produced some of the biggest hits of the era. So really amazing to see them, and totally a surprise. And I was like, "Wow, this is crazy." And then Duran Duran came to play. Now, before that was a band called Bastille, which I'm not familiar with them. There was a couple young people there in front of us that were wearing Bastille shirts, so I guess they came to see Bastille, and they stayed for the show. I don't know. Their parents, they brought their parents with them, who I guess were Duran Duran fans. Anyway, then Duran Duran came on, and it's been a while since I heard them, but I remember, like, man, it was a great time. It was a great time. Had awesome representation. So here's the thing. So, like, Duran Duran, I've seen them over the years, and they are so much better now than they ever have been. Like, the musicality of their performance, the arrangements, the way that they play together, the interaction, like the sound, like it's really like on a whole, they're really at a whole nother level now. Like I've heard some bands, are just okay today that we like back then, but these guys, their musicality is just rocking it. Like it was like, holy moly, this is some great stuff. And if you're really a fan of a band, right, and you listen to most of all everything that they've ever recorded, like I did with them, like they pulled out some really old, like obscure kind of music from their catalog. So it's like that was pretty dope to watch. But anyway, so you got the time. They got a few more dates. They're going up to Kentucky, Toronto, Montreal, back down to like Forest Hills, New York, and then they're finishing out the North American tour later this month at Atlantic City. They only got like 5 or 6 dates left. And I was like, oh man, maybe I should go to Atlantic City. All right, so here's our coffee. A little bit cool. Not bad, actually. Mom, I think I'm going to use this on tonight's live stream. Maybe a little bit of caramelly notes are starting to come out now that it's cooler. Which reminds me that if you're also interested in more coffee talk and also maybe enjoy cigars, we have the Coffee and Cigars live stream that happens on the Ono Live channel at 8 p.m. tonight, Thursday night. We have a Thursday night hang every week. We get together, a bunch of guys or girls, and we just kind of talk coffee and talk cigars. Tonight's cigar is the one called Red from West Tampa Cigar Company. And I think we're going to use this coffee and talk about, the occlusion of coffee a little bit on tonight's episode. So if you're interested in a little bit of a different flavor from this live stream, that's a little bit different flavor. All right. Yes, sounds good, Mom. Sounds good. All right. So anyway, that's going to be it for today. Back again tomorrow, Friday, last day of the week. We're going to see how this performs. There has definitely been an improvement. I'm actually enjoying this coffee. I might drink more of this now. Honestly, I didn't drink the last 2 days' coffee. Or actually, I did third Tuesdays, even though I didn't really like it as much because I had the concha. And concha makes everything beautiful. All right. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being with us. Got any ideas or comments or thoughts for future videos? Let me know down below. And see you next time.